So today I am going to do a little talk on modern shamanism, and the form of shamanism that I'm going to talk about is spirit-led shamanism, which is a top-down approach. It is being initiated and guided by a spirit, or in my case, an animal, power animal, an animal ally. So usually in spirit-led shamanism, there is an initiating spirit. This spirit appeared to me in dream time. So it was one of those big dreams, those dreams that you will never forget. Very visceral, very real, very, just very big is the term that I would describe this. Upon waking after that dream, I received visitation from the spirit world telling me the name of my power animal, the lifetimes or how many lifetimes that I've worked with this animal, our relationship of the soul body through many incarnations. And it wasn't until working with clients, I was already seeing clients at that time, but that the jaguar, I could feel its energy coming up and down my spine. And when I was feeling this sensation, I was like, whoa, what is this energy? Because in the dream, the jaguar, when it came for me, when it hunted me down, it pushed me to the ground and it sniffed my entire body. It went from my head, sniffing 360 degrees all around my body. And then when it got my scent, we went from being physical beings, so myself and the jaguar, to these two vibrating fields of energy. And then when we vibrated like this for a while, the jaguar entered my body. And then that was when I woke up from my dream. So when I was working with the client, I felt this energy running up and down my spine, and I was told that it was the jaguar. It showed me what it could do. It was able to connect me to psychic realms, realms within my client's emotional, psychic, mental, spiritual body. It showed me how it could work. And to be honest, I was quite dumbfounded that an animal had so much power. I was like, no way, an animal can't do that. An animal has this much power. And I started it taught me through opening up my own psychic spheres and expanding my own consciousness. It taught me what it could do. And then it was from that experience that I started to Google, power animals and look into shamanism. And that was my initiation into working with this animal. But my soul body, my karmic history, my astral body was already holding imprints, and I guess the shamanic archetype in the map of knowing how to traverse these realms, of having been through the initiation process before. And so those dormant talents or those dormant gifts and traits got reawoken in me. I didn't ever learn how to do soul retrievals, psychopomp work, how to journey. It's very different from core shamanism or, many other different shamanic paths. And there's many ways to shamanize in a modern way, but my way really is spirit-led, and it is more direct revelation and direct teaching from the spirits themselves. Now, it's not an easy path. I think we have to guard against ego inflation and what's our own unconscious, or subconscious or, fantasy, and what's genuinely coming from the spirits. And that takes, discerning. And I'm a real skeptic and really like testing things as well. So I'm maybe err on the side of not caution, but maybe doubt, skepticism. And so when I was going through this process, I was, having experiences, having dreams, and I was still doubting my process. I was still having a lot of fear come up, a lot of doubt about the authenticity of it all. you know, even though you can't control your dreams and you can't control these experiences, the ego, that's the last place the ego can actually control. So dreams can be very telling, and much of spirit-led shamanism is through dreams and visions. So spirit came to me one day and they said to me, if you don't believe that you are going through a spirit-led initiation, if you're, you know, if you disbelieve that you're going through a spirit-led shamanic calling, then you don't believe that anyone else in history has ever gone through that either. And it was one way to take my ego out of it, because the ego focuses on me. It focuses on I. That's the whole, you know, trap of ego, is it's so self-centric. It can only think of one's own self. And so when spirit put it to me in that way, and I realized that if I didn't believe it for me, it meant that I didn't believe it for anyone else either. And that took my, it took my ego out of the process and kind of surrendered to just going along with the spirit. So in my clinic, this is why you will always see the jaguar. It is my main guide, my main teacher, the main initiatory spirit. It has a certain power over you, you know, like in spirit-led shamanism, there is a type of possession by these spirits that they have a greater influence over your psyche and take you through ordeals, tests, trials that can be terrifying. They get you to face your shadows, your distortions, all the things that cloud or distort your communion with the divine spirit. And so that is quite a big process. It was such a big process for me that I tried to get rid of the jaguar. I threw a crystal that I housed its energy off the top of Mount Dandenong. I got rid of some of the things. I was terrified of some of the things and the dreams and the processes that I was going through. And, you know, sometimes when people will come into my clinic and saying, oh, I want to do shamanism, I back into the wall. Like, are you really sure that you want to go through this? Because it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, you know. And I see people on Instagram in their underwear and, you know, getting naked almost and promoting shamanism. And I just think, you know, are you really traversing this path? Because it's you know, a lot of authentic people, I don't think are really doing that, you know. There's a trap with glamour. There's a trap with, you know, spirit finds a way to humble your fucking ass if you get too inflated. And I think it's something that we really have to guard about. But people fall for the glamour. They fall for the fantasy of, like, you know, of power. And that's one thing about shamanism. For me, it's, you have to have a right relationship with power, and for the right reasons. It's not doing it for money. It's not doing to get a fucking really large following. You know, it's not focused on the personality at all. And the bigger archetypal energies that drive this spirit, like even just saying that now, I get goosebumps, because that power is so much more powerful than you are. And we must remember that. We really must be humbled towards that, I think. So spirit-led shamanism, I would like to promote a little bit about this, because probably like me, we can question the validity of this, but we are at a time in our collective evolution where we need to work like this. There are so many benefits from the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit, that shamanic healing. It's not just, you know, waving feathers around and banging on a drum. We work deeply with the afflictions of the soul. We work deeply with diseases in the body, you know, like it's, it's really powerful work in the psyche, in the soul, with the physical body, the energetic body. Its medicine is really, really needed. So that's the jaguar. Spirit also came to me and they gave me a choice out of 3 birds for my upper world spirit. And they named which birds they were. One was an eagle, one was a raven, and the other one was black cockatoo. Now, I instinctively knew which one I should pick, but I'm a little bit like this. I didn't want to pick I'd already had the Jaguar. I didn't choose that. That came through dream and my past relationship with it. I didn't want to choose the eagle because I didn't want to choose the boss of the sky. I didn't want to, pick the most revered and the greatest one. So I thought about the raven. My son, I'd already had a very deep mystical connection with the raven through my son, I would say, my son's calling when he was a baby and the prophetic dreams that I had around that and his near-death experience. I thought about that, but I thought, no, I won't pick the raven. I'm going to go for the black cockatoo. I love those birds. They're a powerful ancestral ally and an ancestral guide for me. And so that's the bird that I chose. About 2 or 3 days later, Spirit came back into my room before I was with the client, and they said, you chose the wrong bird. And I was like, oh, why give me a choice? But Spirit will test you too. They test your faith, they test your resolve, they test your ego, they test your motivation, they test your agenda. They gruelingly test you in some ways. It's not all a really lovely process. In fact, I wouldn't say it's very much a lovely process at all. So they said to me it was a golden eagle, and I was like, oh, of course it is. It's a golden eagle, a beautiful gold eagle. How lovely, how wonderful for me. And they said to me, no, Christy, that's a bird in North America. Look it up. And so I got on Google and I Googled golden eagle North America. And of course, it's the, it's one of the biggest eagles over in that side of the hemisphere. And I guess it kind of ties back to the jaguar and the eagle cults of Aztec, Mesoamerica, et cetera, which I have past experiences in and been through initiations there. So they are both my power animals. So you'll see this in my clinic. Literally a golden eagle and the jaguar. So yes, so spirit-led shamanism, it is a top-down approach. It's not by having a teacher or an elder or learning aspects of shamanism, how to get a power animal. Like literally these things come down to you, and it is about harmonizing and working in this relationship. And the jaguar has been really big on teaching me through an alchemical process what it has called, the philosopher's stone. And this is the partnership with the jaguar that I've been working towards for many lifetimes. And it represented to me in dreams and through dialogue, mostly through dreams, as a red crystal, the ruby crystal, which in alchemy is the rubedo aspect of the philosopher's stone. It is the last kind of phase, and it combines mind, body, soul, and spirit, so that the union is that I can feel the jaguar in my body. It is literally an embodied energy within me. It's maybe what we call the shaman's double, the astral double, etc. And so it asked me to get a ruby, and I didn't want to get one because rubies are more expensive than diamonds. But this is on my other wedding finger, symbolizing being married to spirit, because it is a marriage, it is a partnership, it is a union, and all unions and all partnerships take effort, energy, and you go through times of if you really want to be committed to that, because it has challenges. So the other thing that I will share, with spirit-led shamanism, because I think if you are going through a spirit-led shamanic initiation journey, even though we can have doubts, so many experiences will prove your circumstance to you. It will be undeniable, so unquestionable and undeniable in that way. You can't make up these dreams. You can't make up these visitations. yes, it can feel like the madness road. That's why, in shamanism, it's often called the madness road, or, you go through certain crises that are quite debilitating. But, if you're questioning it, you're probably not on one, because there should be evidence and signs that are unquestionable. It was more so for me that I was questioning my ability and my tenacity, or my courage. Courage is probably the right word. If I was strong enough to go ahead on this path. And so there was a wonderful practitioner here. She was not soul-centered psychotherapy. She was, I can't remember transpersonal psychology, I think it was. She was, a wonderful practitioner, and she had this amazing room full of figurines and, all types of ornaments and things to depict various aspects of energies. And I went to have a session with her when I was struggling with my shamanic path and my commitment to it. And I said to her, I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'm capable enough. I don't know if I've got what it takes. And so she said to me, pick out something in this room that reminds you of the jaguar. So I, scoured the room, and I was looking through all these objects of thinking what energy represents the jaguar. And I saw a figurine of a fox, and so I grabbed the fox. The fox is a very much trickster-like spirit. Can have two sides, So I grabbed the fox and I threw it into the corner of the room like a child. And I said, I just don't know if I want it. I don't know if I'm strong enough, don't know if I'm capable enough, and so the therapist focused on, other aspects of my work that I was working with. I've had guides, and, I was doing healing work prior to this shamanic calling. And so she was getting me to focus on where else can you, bring in this medicine. How else can you work that might not feel as challenging or as threatening? And anyway, I didn't really get much resolve through that session, other than having my little tantrum and throwing the fox into the corner of the room, and I left there. And when I got home, I had someone minding my children. And, my friend, who it was a dear friend of mine, she said to me, you had a friend come over while you were out, and she had something for you. She seemed like a little bit like it was like random. And she said, it's on your bed. And I went into my bedroom, and there was a plastic bag on my bed. And I had a look into this plastic bag and got out what it was. And this is what it was. A full-blown fucking fox on my bed. It had got home before I had. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was dumbfounded. I was just like, what the actual fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? And I messaged my friend, and I was like, what? Like, why did you bring this to me? And she's like, I don't know. I had this overwhelming urge that this needed to go to you, and it needed to go to your place, and it needed to go now. And I'm like, wow. I told her, I said, you wouldn't believe where I just was. I said, I was in a therapist's office, like, talking about my shamanic path, talking about my thing with the jaguar. I was finding it really difficult, and I'd throw a tantrum. I'd throw it into the corner of the room, wanting to get rid of it. And I was fucking on my bed before, it was home before I was. And I think this goes to show synchronicity, that synchronistic events are those events that two separate events come together, and both, both are separate, but they mystically are synchronistic at the same time. Like, one event doesn't cause the other, but these two events come together and speak about the same thing. And the other thing, other than synchronicity, which I think synchronicity always says that we're on the right path. It tells us where to go. And I've tried to get rid of the jaguar so many times. I'm going to admit my own fallacy. I have tried to get rid of it numerous times. If I felt it, it's betrayed me, because it's showing me my own shadow. if it gets hard and I want to quit and give up, or if I get scared, it's the first thing I want to fuck off. But it's the true source of my power. Genuinely, really is. So yeah, it shows that spirit are there for you, guiding you and helping you in these ways. And hopefully, this can inspire anyone else on a shamanic path, who is having dreams, who is going through any kind of ordeal or calling of the spirits, because the spirit world needs us as we need them. There needs to be a meeting of the two parties coming together. Of course, there can be shadow aspects of the spiritual realm as well. I think why we need guidance and help along the path, particularly for those who have gone before us or know the psychic map and the psychic territory of what this entails. But yeah, hopefully this might speak to some people who are on a similar path. What I found really helpful was studying more things from the anthropological side. So, articles, or anything that I was going through and what I was experiencing, I'd then Google search and I'd look at, I've got a whole pile of notes actually on, initiation of, shamanic calling. And these things, even though they can't take you through the process, but they can speak to the certain themes that you have and the things that you face. So it doesn't give you knowledge in the sense of like giving you wisdom, but it gives you an understanding, I think, of what you're going through, which you can relate back to your own psychic process and your own thing to, I guess, normalize it, to see the main kind of key things that it takes you through. Yeah, and spirit-led shamanism, it is not easy. It is a wonderful path, but it's not easy. And I think that's where elders or people in other cultures, a shamanic initiation was what people, the elders, would take a candidate through would be quite intense, and those things would mimic what the spirits would do to the person going through the shamanic ideal. It needs to, aspects of the ego need to dissolve. We need to be pliable, we need to be healthy, we need to work through our stuff, because that can distort and cloud the way that we interact with the spiritual world as well. So that's just a little share on, spirit-led shamanism from a modern perspective.